there we go. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is Tuesday, March the 10th, 2026, and we're here at Middlesex County. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none, then we'll move into the approval of the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Councillor Mayhew, seconded by Councillor McMillan. All in favor? And that's carried. You've had an opportunity to read the minutes from the February 10th, 2026 meeting of council. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the minutes of the February 10th, 2026 regular meeting be approved as presented, and that the recommendations made by the committee of a whole as set out in the minutes of the February 10th, 2026 meeting be adopted. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McGuire, seconded by Councillor Smyberg. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the first item up under new business is the disposal of surplus lands, the county land in Southwest Middlesex Business and Industrial Park on Glencoe Main Street. I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to Alex Bondarenko, our county legal.
Thank you, Warden Clerk. So further to Council's direction at the January 13th meeting, County Legal has prepared an agreement of purchase and sale for the disposal of the lands in the Southwest Middlesex Business and Industrial Park. The agreement of purchase and sale was prepared alongside administration from Southwest Middlesex. And just to highlight a couple key points regarding this agreement is the purchase price, so the sale price in terms of the county is $50,400, which is the original purchase price. That's what the county paid for 3 years ago when it purchased the lands from Southwest Middlesex. So it's a full recovery of those funds. There are no other costs anticipated to be incurred by the county as we're doing this in-house. The legal department is completing this transaction in-house without any external representation. And with respect to the agreement itself, the property is going to be sold on an as-is, whereas condition. Again, it's vacant land that was never developed or improved by the county, so it's being sold as is, whereas. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions. The agreement of purchase and sale itself and the GIS imaging showing the parcel is also attached to the report.
Thank you, Alex. Are there any questions? Councillor Mayhew? Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, we have a recommendation up on the screen. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Rob, go ahead before I answer that.
Just a question. I will move the recommendation, but just to clarify for the public that the county no longer has any further use for this piece of property, correct?
That's my understanding. Did you want to speak to that, Alex, please?
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. It was the original intention was, I believe, a paramedic station, and it's no longer being considered at that location.
Perfect. Thank you. And I will move the recommendation.
And you will move that? Okay, so we have a recommendation on the screen for disposal of surplus lands. Councillor Rob moves it. Seconder, Councillor David. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Next up on the agenda, are there any inquiries? Are there any notices of motion? And are there any councillor comments or other business? I'd like to take a moment just to thank everybody who participated and supported the Community Futures Middlesex Women's International Women's Day at Fire Rock. And I'd like to thank Councillor Grantham for attending with me to the World Day of Prayer in Strathroy and ecumenical service for the entire community. And I'm sure there's a lot of events coming up around St. Patrick's Day, so support local, spend your money local. I'm sure there might be something going on in Luton, but I'm not positive. So for St. Patrick's Day. Anyway, at this time, we now need to move into the Committee of Management. We have a recommendation that council convene as the Committee of Management at 1:05 p.m. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Burkhart Jessen, seconded by Councillor McMillan. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, at this time, I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to Brent Kerwin, our administrator from Strathmere Lodge.
Thank you, Warden, through you to council. Council has seen this annual declaration requirement for a number of years now. And to remind council, the county has what's called the Long-Term Care Home Service Accountability Agreement, known as an LSAW for short, and that's with Ontario Health, which requires that we make an annual declaration of compliance to the LSAW using Schedule E from the LSAW, which is included in my written report. LSAWs apply to all provincial long-term care homes. The full LSAW document itself is 40 pages plus. And in simple terms, it spells out the rules attached to the lodge's provincial funding, such as what services the lodge must deliver and what financial, clinical, and statistical data must be reported and when. County Council approved the last iteration of the LSAW in April 2023, and since then, Ontario Health has simply extended the agreement annually. According to the Declaration of Compliance document, the Lodge's Committee of Management must make the declaration of compliance to the LSAW after conferring with the Lodge Administrator, and I, as Lodge Administrator, have reviewed the obligations under the LSAW and confirmed that the Lodge has met all LSAW compliance requirements for the reporting period January 1 to December 31st, 2025. As such, I'm recommending that Schedule E of the Long-Term Care Home Service Accountability Agreement be approved and that Warden Clark be authorized to sign Schedule E on behalf of the county. Address any questions.
Thank you, Brent. Are there any questions for Brent? I know that this has not shown up on the agenda before in the past, but we're taking a new approach because this is an accountability by all of the county councilors around the horseshoe. So I think it's important that we see that here today. If there's no questions or comments, we have the recommendation up on the screen. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Grantham, seconded by Councillor Smyberg. All in favor? And that's carried. I also need a motion to convene the Committee of Management at 1:08 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. That we rise from the Committee of Management and convene to the Committee of a Whole at 1:08 p.m. Moved by Councillor DeVete, seconded by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we do not have any delegations that I'm aware of. And reports from county officers, we do not have any at this time. So the next item up is 10C1, the award of RFP MC 2026-03, the Middlesex County Archives feasibility study, and I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to Josh White, our procurement manager.
Thank you. Through the warden to council. As per council direction at the November 25th, 2025 meeting, funds for a consultant to complete a feasibility study for the potential Middlesex County Archive was included and subsequently approved in the 2026 county budget. Following budget approval, an RFP process commenced, with the county receiving a single submission from TCI Management Consultants. Following review of the loan proposals, staff determined that TCI Management Consultants possess the experience and the expertise required to conduct a comprehensive county archives feasibility study, meeting the parameters identified in the report and relevant past project experience. If awarded, the feasibility study is expected to take approximately 16 weeks, in which the consultant will present its findings at a future council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Josh at this time? Paul, would you like to make a comment to add to that, please?
Yeah, through you, Madam Warden. I would like to just add to manage expectations internally and externally. This is just a study, and then the results of said study will come back to County Council for consideration and how we would move forward from that point in time. We really want to be clear that it's an analysis of options by a third party that will engage the public and various interest holders, and then come back. It is not a commitment to execute any certain strategy in the future, and we're just hammering that home so all parties are on the same page before we start this engagement.
Michelle Smiber?
Thank you. Just had one question for staff. Thank you, Josh, for letting us know that the study will take about 16 weeks. Will the opponent be able to get the work done once we finalize or approve the recommendation, or is there going to be a certain timeline before they can start? I just wanted to kind of understand when we could expect results back here.
Through the warden to the counselor. So yes, upon award here, we would be conducting the contract phase, which would happen within approximately the next week, and then the consultant would be ready to go, and that 16-week approximate process would take place.
Any further questions, comments? Okay, we have a recommendation up on the screen. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Grantham, seconded by Councillor Smyberg. All in favor? And that's carried. Next item on our agenda is 10C2, the award of RFP MC 2025-16, the Transit Operator Services. And I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to Dimitri. Correct me if I make a mistake, Makrakis? Educate me. How do you pronounce it?
Thank you, Warden. That's pretty correct.
Makrakis? Okay.
Makrakos, yeah.
Ooh, well, first time out of the gate. Thank you. Okay, I'll turn that over to you now.
I believe the CAO wanted to speak to this.
No, go ahead, please. You two have done all the hard work.
Okay, thank you, Warden, and through the Warden to Council. So in November 2025, an RFP was issued. That RFP closed December 4th, 2025. We received a single submission, and that is with the current service operator, Voyago. The rate that they came back was higher than we anticipated, $110 an hour. After several meetings with them, we got that rate down to $99.70 an hour. And so that's an average over the next 4 years until the end of the agreement, which would be March 2030. And when we looked at our modeling, we're able to, with that rate, still offer the same service we're providing today. So in front of council are, I think, 3 motions there, and happy to answer any questions at this moment regarding the RFP or the rates.
Okay, thank you, Dimitri. Are there any questions, comments, questions? Councillor Grantham?
Yeah, thank you, Warden. I just want to comment how glad I am and pleased to see this come to fruition. I know that Strathroy Caradoc uses it, so I appreciate all the work that staff have done, but I also want to note, Warden, there's an end date to this, and I know previous wardens have put the pressure on politically to keep this going for this period of time, so I think we need to, at some point in time, just keep the pressure on, because it's very well used in my community, so just very happy to see it come to fruition.
Any further comments? It was top of, we did have a delegation around transportation, so just to reassure you, it is top of mind, and it's something we're continuing to focus on so that we can continue to provide this service to Middlesex County and beyond. If there's no further questions or comments, the motion is up on the screen. Could I have a mover and a second? Moved by Councillor McMillan, seconded by Councillor Grantham. All in favor? and that's carried. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the debt management policy, and I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to Nikki Norse, our Director of Finance and our County Treasurer.
This report presents a formal debt management policy for your consideration. Historically, Middlesex County has relied on reserves, reserve funds, and external funding for capital projects without a formal policy to guide debt use. With increasing capital pressures, it's best practice to have a clear, transparent framework for future decisions. The proposed policy outlines how debt may be used as one of several financing tools, ensures compliance with the Municipal Act, and defines roles and accountability with council approving long-term debt and the treasurer overseeing administration. It sets a conservative internal debt target of 15% of own source revenues, well below the provincial limit of 25%, preserving flexibility while allowing strategic use of debt if needed. It's important to note that adopting this policy does not commit the county to taking on debt, rather ensures that if debt is considered in the future, it will be evaluated through a structured, transparent process that aligns with the county's asset management and long-term financial planning. Staff would be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you, Nikki. Are there any questions on the debt policy? If not, we have a recommendation up on the screen. Is someone prepared to move that? Moved by Councillor Smyber, seconded by Councillor David. Any further discussion? Oh, okay, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And Nikki, I think you're up on the docket here for the next report regarding Middlesex County Governance and Administration Center financing report. So I'll turn this section over to you as well.
Great, thank you. Next slide. So in May 2025, Council awarded the construction tender for the Governance and Administration Center and approved using reserves for short-term construction financing. Council also directed staff to report back with long-term funding options for the project, which is the purpose of today's presentation. So staff consider different financing approaches to confirm if using reserves continues to provide the best value when the project is being built. The analysis compared borrowing through a construction loan versus using county reserves, considering both interest cost and lost investment income. Based on this review, continuing to use the reserves for the construction phase remains the lowest cost option, the estimated carrying cost of $139,000. So while reserves are appropriate for short-term construction funding, a long-term financial strategy is needed to replenish reserves and maintain financial flexibility. One key funding source is the anticipated proceeds from the sale of 399 Rideout Street expected in December 2026. Staff evaluated how these proceeds could be used alongside potential debt financing to support the project while maintaining strong financial sustainability. The three options we looked at is 100% debt, 50% sale proceeds, 50% debt, and 100% sale proceeds. The goal was to determine the most balanced approach in terms of reserve levels, financial flexibility, and long-term affordability. To start the analysis, we looked at the current financial position at the county. The county is currently in a strong financial position with no outstanding debt, and all options fall well within the annual debt repayment limit. The analysis assumes a 3% investment return and a 3.97% Infrastructure Ontario borrowing rate. We selected a 15-year term to complete this analysis. Staff evaluated what term would be most appropriate for the debt and completed analysis looking at the 10, 15, and 20-year term. A 15-year term was selected as it balances manageable annual payments and with reasonable total borrowing costs. The debt would also be repaid well within the building's useful life, supporting intergenerational equity. There are three main considerations for council as it relates to the long-term financing of the building. One of the key considerations is the impact to the municipal tax levy. What this chart shows is that fully funding the project through debt would create the largest annual levy impact, 2.2% annually, or 2.1% annually, while using sale proceeds entirely would eliminate the levy impact. A blended approach reduces levy impact while maintaining reserves and financial flexibility. The second council consideration is the economic cost. The economic cost analysis compares the total cost of each option over 15 years, including borrowing costs and the opportunity costs of using sale proceeds instead of investing them. While full debt financing has the lowest total economic cost at just under 5 million, using all sale proceeds results in the highest due to lost investment income coming in at 8.2 million. The blended approach falls between the two options, balancing cost and financial flexibility with total economic cost of 6.5 million over 15 years. Okay. And the third factor is the level of long-term debt commitment the county would assume. Full debt financing would create the largest long-term obligation, resulting in a larger portion of the annual budget committed to fixed debt repayment, which could limit the county's ability to allocate funds to new initiatives or respond to emerging priorities. While funding entirely from sale proceeds would eliminate debt entirely, allowing for more financial flexibility. The blended approach provides a moderate level of debt while preserving some reserves. So we wanted to look at the weighting of the considerations after we looked at those three options. We ranked the highest priority as the annual levy impact. We wanted to minimize short-term tax increases to protect the municipal levy. 100% sale proceeds was most ideal option for this factor, with a 0% impact to the tax levy. The second priority that we weighted was the net economic cost. This factor, 100% debt, was most ideal, with the total cost being 5 million compared to the highest cost of 8.2 million of sale proceeds. And the last priority is the debt commitment. While the county currently has no debt, we considered options that preserve reserves and maintain flexibility for future needs. We found that the blended approach was most ideal for this consideration. So as you can see, depending on which factor you looked at, a certain option might be more ideal. So after considering all of those options, staff recommend a blended approach of 50% sale proceeds and 50% debt. This option balances levy impact, long-term economic efficiency, and financial flexibility. It also allows the county to be responsibly take on moderate debt while retaining approximately 7 million in reserves for future priorities and unforeseen needs. That concludes the overview of the financing analysis. If you have any questions, I'm happy to hear them.
Thank you. That was the thorough review of our options. I appreciate that. Are there any questions for Nikki? Councilor Rob?
Thank you. Through the warden to Nikki. I'm not opposed to this recommendation. I just wondered, have you considered different percentages to, rather than 50-50, just, is that a fixed, is that the best amount, or should 75-25? I'm just worrying about that. The other question I have, and we have talked about this at budget committee as well, about long-term projects and infrastructure projects. Will this have a negative impact on the future for us? I'm thinking of some of our infrastructure, some big ticket items that we have that we may be looking at this again. I use a bridge as an example. Just wondering if it'll be negative impact.
Through the warden to council. We did look at other options other than the 50-50. We found that the split best aligns with our objectives of fiscal prudence, intergenerational equity, and maintaining flexibility for future capital projects. So having 7.4 million in reserves in the future will help with some of the other projects that may come up. If we did go with a lower level going to reserves, there's you wouldn't have the investment income, which could also be used to help support future projects as well. So we found that the 50-50% allowed us to have that flexibility in the future versus any other option.
Councilor Mayhew?
Thank you very much, Warden. Nikki, that is a good report. Just for your own information, it's so good that municipalities are looking at it, and we're going through our debt management process at Southwest Middlesex, and we're comparing our model to your model, and it's helpful. So thank you very much for that.
Councilor Grantham?
Thank you, Warden. I'm going to apologize to CAO and to Nikki. I should have asked these questions beforehand, but I'm going to ask them anyways. We're using the term reserves, but are they in fact not the proceeds from the sale of the building? It's a technical bit.
To you, Madam Warden, and I think generally. So yes, I think They will be from sale. Proceeds from sale end up in reserves. So we're going through that procedural step when we write the report here. So that's number one. We assume the model is that those monies would end up in a reserve and not just be spent as soon as they're received in the future. I think number two, just more holistically, is Middlesex County has generally been debt averse, right? Outside of the long-term care home, the municipality hasn't really carried a debt profile. And part of the things that we look at when we engage with upper levels of government is, are you utilizing your various revenue streams appropriately? So what this is sort of a first logical foray into debt capacity. That's why it was preceded with the debt management policy. And when you think of things like the Thorndale Bridge and some of the other large scale infrastructure, and let's be really honest, it's bridges and culverts for the most part, that maybe in a year or two, we're able to bundle a number of those assets that are 50 to 75-year assets into a package and be able to, again, utilize our debt capacity there to execute those. So this is really a transition in philosophy for Middlesex County, working to highlight all the aspects that Nikki outlined within her report.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Counselor Smyberg.
Just a comment really, and thank you again for the report. I thought it was really well done, very transparent and lots of good information. And so I like the recommendation because we're taking advantage of the sale of proceeds for today to help, I guess, minimize that expense. But it also, because it's a project that is going to last for years to come, I think it's only appropriate that those costs be spread over the next 2 years. So I think it provides a really good balance for what we can afford, and it gives us some opportunity to afford some other big capital projects that are coming up.
Thank you. For sure, everything's costing more money, and in every municipality, I think the aging infrastructure is a real challenge, that's for sure. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation up on the screen. You've had a chance to read that. It was in your package. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Smyberg, seconded by Councillor Mayhew. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Nikki. The next item up is 10C5, the county-owned forest woodland acquisition policy, and I'll turn this part of the meeting over to Mark Brown, our woodland conservation officer.
With your permission, Madam Warden, I was just going to very briefly introduce it and then let Mark do all the heavy
Okay.
lifting.
You can hijack them. That's great.
So I just wanted to highlight sort of as a background, this is a proposed county forest acquisition policy. And over the years, there are some times where, whether it's through federal or provincial funding opportunities or just landowners come to the county and want to talk about whether or not the county would expand the county forest through the acquisition of land. We haven't ever had a policy to sort of how to deal with those. And so without that, it's basically been a default policy where nothing occurred. So what this would do, if council was to adopt this policy, it would sort of set the framework for how staff would consider these. We would then do our analysis, gather more information, but ultimately any acquisition would come back to council as a standalone item to be considered by council. So this would sort of just set the guide rails for staff and would not create an obligation to acquire woodlands in the future, and it doesn't set aside money for that purposes or anything like that. So as I said, Mark did the work on this. He's done the background research in other jurisdictions and what their policies look like. So if Mark could just sort of review the policy, and of course available for any questions.
Thank you, Madam Warden, to council. So yeah, the policy builds upon a long-standing commitment from County Council in terms of forest stewardship and reforestation. The policy provides priority given to areas that would consolidate or enlarge the county forest tracts and its inventory. The policy requires consultation with local municipalities and other interest holders, and of course a council resolution if we bring up suitable property to council. I think the policy and the framework that we've built, let's say on the knowledge and expertise that we picked the brains of York Region and Simcoe County, who have similar policies in place already and have done for many years now. It provides transparency, coordination, collaboration, and it aligns with our broader planning objectives. So that, I think, pretty much sums it up. You have the report before you, so if happy to field any questions that councillors may have.
Thank you, Mark and Dirk. Are there any questions? Counselor Mayhew, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for the report, Mark. Mark, we've got the best tree canopy between Toronto and Windsor, I think, Middlesex County. It's and it's getting a reputation of having that, and I think some of these lands are unsuitable for agriculture. My only concern is it's very difficult to get access to the Thames River, and it's you know, between London and Chatham, there's very few points that an individual can touch the water or get a kayak or a canoe in that. And I know that may fall outside your jurisdiction, but if we're going to look at forest cover as a recreational element and an environmental element, sometimes you have to take a water course along with it. And that's a concern I had, that you know, I missed the opportunity of getting close to the water on our road networks, on our forest plots, and things of that nature. Any comment on that, Mark?
Through the warden, no specific comment. I think that's, you know, as an overriding or overarching value, I think it's extremely valuable to bring that to the table. And I think it probably is built into the assessment framework that we've put together. Certainly the access to water and creeks and wetlands and those kind of aquatic values is certainly part of the evaluation, or would be part of the evaluation process. So I think, yeah, that's a great point.
Yep, follow up, please.
Yeah, quick follow up, Mark. You know, like I see Chatham, Kent, sometimes you have boardwalks to the river, and they're exceptionally well used by people, I can assure you, and they're actually accessible. People with handicaps abilities can access them, and it's a nice amenity that they put there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, then we have a recommendation up on the screen. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Grantham, seconded by Councillor Burkhart Jessen. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the next item on our agenda is 10.C.6 Middlesex County Connect 2025 Year in Review, and I'll turn this portion of the meeting once again over to Dimitri McCracken, our Community Transportation Project Manager, and Kara Finn, Economic Development.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The 2025 Year in Review report in front of council today provides a summary of the Middlesex County Connect 2025 performance regarding ridership, fares, and service hours. The overall takeaway is the service improved across the majority of metrics from 2024 to 2025. Ridership grew by 3,000 riders, so that went from 11,000 annually in 2024 to 14,000 annually in 2025. So it's a 27% increase. Fare revenue grew by 20%, so that's $11,000 of growth from 56,000 in revenue in 2024 to 67,000 in 2025. When we look at the payments made and how riders are paying for the service, 51% of payments are made on board credit or debit, so that's just tapping a credit card or a debit card as they board. 45% of riders still use cash, and 4% are using the Blaze app, and that's an online payment system. In terms of service hours, the service operated for a total of 6,250 hours with only 91 hours of downtime. So what that translates to is the service being operational for 98.5% of the scheduled service time. The total cost to Middlesex County, or the cost we incurred to have Voyaco as a service provider to provide this service was $560,000 over the course of 2025. And then attached to this report, you'll see a one-page PDF infographic providing a visual representation of the 2025 ridership performance and data that was presented in this report. And I'm happy to answer any questions at this time on the information in the report or the infographic.
Kara, do you have anything further or do you feel good?
We just want to reiterate to council that this report, of course, does not include Route 4, which is the Sarnia to Strathroy and into London piece. That, of course, will show up on future annual reports, and we look forward to be able to report on that as well.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Councillor Burkhart-Jessen?
Thank you, and through the warden, thank you for this report. Great update on where we are. And certainly it's very positive to see the growth in the system. And that has to do, I think, with a number of things. Obviously, I think it's the work behind the scenes, advertising the system, but also it is also our residents in our communities beginning to understand what public transit is and how easy it is to access it. So really looking forward to, you know, as we build the system, what it can become. Kara, you did mention, and this was my question, obviously we do not have the data on Route 4 because that isn't our route. It wasn't our route last year. Just wondering, going forward, will we be able to access, and maybe this is more of a question for my colleagues across the way, but will we be able to access the data from that route as what it was before, and then when it becomes part of our system?
So through you, Warden, to the councillor, thank you very much for the question. We do in fact have access to that information. Strathroy Caradoc has been an exceptional partner in being able to communicate with us what the statistics and ridership is. So we do have that information and can certainly relay that to individuals if they're interested. We did not include it in the collective for our routes to date. However, it will be included, and we do have historical data.
That's great, thanks. I just want to add that when we had our delegation with the ministry at Roma, the numbers are key. So we really need to see these types of reports that put a number around it and some context, because that's what they're looking at when we talk about future funding. So I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to receive. So will we have like a quarterly, or is that not a big enough period to measure the impact of Route 4? Like, what can we expect going forward from a reporting mechanism?
You, Madam Warden. I think I'm just going to jump in here. As it's transitioning to the new funding program, and Kara and Dimitri are doing excellent work kind of bringing everything together, and we get on with Borrego, we might give it to mid-year just as we transition the documentation, but the team actively tracks this data on a monthly basis. We likely just wait to present it again to County Council until mid-year, if that's okay.
Sounds good. Councillor Grantham.
Thank you, Warden, through you to Kara. Just the project partners, I remember correctly, and I am reading, the City of London, City of Sarnia, and City of St. Thomas are contributing. Where are we at with the other partners, Woodstock and Ingersoll? I'd heard some rumblings about that, but I'm not fully up on it.
Thank you. Through you, Warden, to the council member. At this time, the contributing financial partners are those that have been noted. So City of St. Thomas, City of Sarnia, and City of London have committed to funding this project through to 2030, alongside with the County of Middlesex and, of course, the Ontario government, in terms of 50% of the costs being covered under the new OTIF. Ongoing conversations will be held with all municipal partners. There are essentially about 26 named partners in this project, and as we solidify the contract with Borrego for the continuation of the service, we will be having more conversations. We certainly have some ridership statistics and some economic drivers that I think are important conversations for us to have with some of those other partners who have not yet committed financially. So those conversations will be taking place, as well as many conversations to come with private industry as well, to talk about the future sustainability of this service.
Okay, any further questions, comments? We have a recommendation up on the screen that Middlesex County Connect 2025 year in review report be received for information. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor Burkhart Justin, seconded by Counselor Grantham. All in favor? And that's carried. Next up on our agenda is the Middlesex County Broadband Update, and I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to our Director of IT Services, Chris Bailey.
Thank you. Through you, Warden, to Council. Just want to provide a brief update to the broadband project, the Accelerated High-Speed Internet Program in the county. As part of this program, Middlesex was broken up into 3 individual lots, and these lots were bid on by pre-qualified internet service providers. To date, as of actually December 31st, 2025, NFTC has completed work in 2 of the 3 lots in Middlesex County, running over 1,230 kilometers of fiber, providing services to over 4,889 premises. And that is all indicated on the attached map in the report. As part of the report, I did want to make sure that I gave a shout out to all the public works departments that NFTC worked with throughout this project. They had nothing but great things to say. As I indicated in the report, they provided me with a quote. So I'm just going to name some of those people: Chris Trainey, Ryan Hillinger, Coulter Cahill, Samuel Shannon, Rob Cascaden, and Mauro Castrilli, and all the public works teams across the county that worked with NFTC. It was because of their hard work that this project was such a success. I'd also like to throw out a big thanks to the legal services team for helping with the municipal access agreements, the blanket MAAs that we were able to use, expedited the build out for this project. Now to discuss the remaining lot in the county out to the east and northeast, we did contact the Infrastructure Ontario at the time. We did receive a response in December from the Ministry of Energy and Mines. They provided an update on this lot and has let us know that more information will be coming in the spring. Unfortunately, that's all that I have from them as of now. Not included in my report because it just happened at the end of last week. Warden Clark actually wrote a letter to the ministry requesting that the remaining lot in Middlesex County be reallocated to NFTC based on the success that we've had throughout the rest of the county. I did speak with NFTC and they let me know that they would work to complete this lot with the same expedited schedule as the previous work throughout the county should it be reassigned to them. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Chris? Counselor DeVete and then Counselor Brennan.
Thank you, Warden, through you to Chris. Thanks for this report. It's always interesting to see where we were and where we are now. I'm wondering, it's really good to see all the red lines on the map. What proportion of the population is actually, do we have any idea about exactly how many households or companies or users are actually using the fiber optic option or have made a transition to that?
Through the warden of the counselor, I don't have that information in front of me. I do know that they've been extremely busy with orders coming through, but I don't actually have the percentage of the number of those over 4,800 residences that have been passed have actually signed up for the services. I will say I've received positive feedback from a number of residents that had previously asked for broadband updates since the project's been complete, which is a good news story for sure, I think, for everybody.
So is it fair to say those that want it are getting it, or that they're in the hopper at least, or there's a timeline by which they will be connected?
Yeah, through the warden again, I think that's fair to say. Again, I don't have the numbers in front of me. However, some of the build outs do need to wait until the ground thaws because they do need to build from the road into those residences, especially some of the longer driveways. There's actually a couple of you on council that have orders in that with NFTC that they haven't been able to build out. But I know that they've been busy. I know I've received a lot of positive feedback from residents throughout the process. And NFTC was actually submitted for additional funding inside of these lots and lit up additional residences and premises as part of the project to get to some of our, a little bit further down the line residents, which as well as some businesses across the county who were not included in the original build, and they actually extended some of their fiber. So again, another shout out to NFTC for helping out our residences and our businesses.
Okay, just to be clear, I'm not grouchy at all. The people that know my driveway know that my neighbor has the same driveway. They were fabulous to work with. They even, when they brought equipment to actually go down that half-mile road, They were wonderful. So this isn't, I'm curious more than I'm not complaining. It was a great experience. Thanks for the update.
Yeah, so some of you will know that there was a few county councilors in Park Hill the other day with the minister. And the number one holdup, I was led to believe it's the ground. There's still frost in the ground and it's a little bit mucky. So once that improves, they'll be ready to go. They're receptive to the zone that's not been met. They have 150 people that can hit the ground running. So we're hopeful that the ministry awards that zone to them. They've also, they overbuilt, I guess. I'm not an IT person, but they have an additional 40% capacity in the ground. So if a settlement area expands or a business comes in the area, there is capacity for that. I just wanted to add that. And lastly, he's not going to toot his own horn, but I have to give a shout out to Chris Bailey because I've heard from residents, I've heard from staff, and I heard also loud and clear from NFTC that you were amazing to work with. And, you know, you didn't have to reach out to residents that were like, I've got some interesting residents and that have some challenges, and you were able to meet those, and I really appreciate it. So I'd like to thank you because you're not giving yourself enough credit here. So thank you. All right, any other questions, comments? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation up on the screen that the Middlesex County Broadband Update Report be received for information. Moved by Councillor DeVete, seconded by Councillor Smiber. All in favor? And that's carried. Next up on our agenda is the Housing and Homelessness Service Overview, and I believe our CAO, Paul Shipley, is going to take this one on. And Dirk, you can provide backup as well as Joe.
Yeah, thank you very much for the shortest report on the agenda. We want to take an opportunity to accomplish a few things here. Number one, we want to provide a comprehensive overview of housing and homelessness from the county's perspective. For someone like Dirk, who's of a certain vintage, he's seen a lot of these reports. So we wanted to collate all the data into one spot. So that's really the first aspect of that, and to go over that the City of London is the housing services provider, the service manager, and clarify our role in that, much like we're the service provider for land ambulance. So as we go forward, it's important to keep that context in mind. And if you look at the landscape across of Ontario, in the county separated city setup for service manager, Middlesex County and London actually enjoy one of the most cohesive relationships across the province. So although there's always opportunities for improvement in everything we do, we're very fortunate to have the partner we do right now. So London administers housing services, and when we talk about that, that's rent geared to income and funding allocations and centralized wait list, and that's sort of detailed within the report. And our role is not program administration, it's really planning and development coordination, policy tools and incentives, intermunicipal collaboration, and supporting housing supply through planning frameworks. If you look at our next couple reports, you can kind of see how we take that role to the next level. And so we're not that service manager, but we do contribute significantly to the housing system. And I think one thing that was really interested in doing the landscape analysis, Middlesex County is the 4th highest funder of social housing in Ontario for a municipality that is not a service manager. So you contribute significantly to that system. And when you look at the names above us, Guelph, a large city where Wellington happens to be the service manager, Essex County, and you think of Windsor and some of the larger urban populations, and then Barrie. So generally you wouldn't group Middlesex County into like aspects of that. So it really speaks to the investment you're making just in the CMSM contribution. So then the other aspect of this report and why we blended it all together is County Council directed us to come up with the housing advocate role. What this report does is really restate all the ways in which we interact in the housing sphere from the county level. And it does exactly what we were directed to do. It creates the job description for a housing advocate, but it respectfully recommends from a staff perspective, when you contextualize that role and look at what's going on right now, that we recommend you not proceed with that. And in full disclosure, we've talked with Councillor Grantham, who moved the original recommendation on this, and the warden. And what we'd like to do is walk through how we do influence, some of the things we've done with the attainable housing review and those action items, and then some of the things council has done recently with the CISP. And then also going back to August of last year where we restructured organizationally. We have a director of human services who is building relationships with all the entities within that sphere, specifically LMCH and the City of London. So we really feel we're able to accomplish what you're looking for with enhanced relationships, with enhanced planning activities, and the efforts of our planning team and the Housing Accelerator Fund in coordination with our local municipalities. So I'd just like to turn it over to Dirk for a few minutes on planning and development, and then just Joe quickly on human services, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for that introduction and through the warden. And of course, Paul's mentioned that London is the service manager, but there are municipal influences on the land use planning side related to housing. As you know, primarily through official plan, your zoning, the development review process, and then sort of in parallel, but very important, of course, is the local provision of sewer and water and infrastructure that supports developers to bring housing online. So although these tools shape and influence housing supply, density mix, et cetera, and development timing, it is important, and the report notes this, that in Ontario, the development process is developer driven to a significant extent. If developers don't bring forward proposals, if the timing and how the market influences, there is a significant developer influence on that. And we've seen that, through the pandemic and since the pandemic, that there are also significant higher level government influences on the housing system. Changes in interest rates dramatically affect borrowing and people's capacity to purchasing power, demand, price growth or price decline. Federal changes on immigration or student visas and some of those areas, those aspects tend to operate at a scale and speed that are greater than the municipal influences on that provisional housing that would submit. So just a little bit of background on the planning, and then as the report does go through it, we did undertake the Attainable Housing Review, the Housing Needs Assessment, and in the Housing Needs Assessment in particular, it quantified a lot of what you know from talking to your citizen. There's a housing deficit of over 1,300 units at the very base level. I think that, it's greater than that. There is an additional need for housing across the entire continuum. Whether it's apartments of 1, 2, 3 bedroom, detached housing, et cetera, et cetera. The report did look at sort of how we operate, and also looked at so since then we've been implementing that in chunks. We've worked to clarify and strengthen this internally, our leadership and how we work with that. Through the planning process, we've been supporting a diversity of housing types and through including the half work that Jacobs and local municipalities have worked on, trying to increase the supply of both attainable and affordable housing. And a lot of those updates are underway, including Official Plan Amendment number 4, which is before the minister now, County Official Plan Amendment number 4, I should say, which council passed not that long ago, the Housing Accelerator work, planning process improvements that we're still working on, and more of that's going to come before council this year. So that's a very high level from a planning perspective. That's on that.
Hi, and
Go ahead, Joe.
through the warden to council. From a human services perspective, really the county's role, we do primarily focus on homelessness prevention and the coordination of our community partners. With the restructuring of our organization, it has helped us strengthen the focus on social or human services, we'll slip up, in more integrated ways. This approach has enabled us to consider housing, homelessness prevention, and community supports more holistically, while strengthening the coordination with the City of London as our service manager, London Middlesex Community Housing, the local municipalities, and our community partners. The goal is to ensure that Middlesex County is well positioned to support residents, increase the access to available programs and services around housing and homelessness, and to participate in opportunities that improve the housing outcomes across the region.
Thank you, Joe. Councilor Burkhart Jessen.
Thank you, and through the warden. This was an excellent report, and I would politely suggest that when you're developing your material for education and training for new council, that you use this because it couldn't be clearer as to roles and responsibility when it comes to housing. So thank you to the staff for putting that together. I am happy with the direction as to taking out the housing coordinator out of it. I had concerns all along that without the supporting business case, that role was going to be one that was going to kind of be developing as it went. So pleased with that direction. I wonder, two questions. One, when is the city coming? Traditionally, they do come to talk about our agreement and the work that's being done for housing, particularly obviously with a county lens on. But with the HPP and MAP funding and understanding it's two separate buckets. And I know when you were negotiating the CMSM, do you think that we'll ever move towards being permanent funding for the MAP as opposed to always having to deliver a business case for that?
Thank you, Councillor. And through the warden to council, it's a great question. I will say that the City of London has been always great to work with when it comes around a request for HPP. Last year we did request an increase, which was not approved. Hopefully this year, if we do have to put a little bit of an increase, it does. Working with the staff over at the city, I'm not sure exactly who made the final decision on the keeping it separated, but we are hoping that it does continue to be permanent funding. And I'm going to be bringing a report probably in April around the MAP program to show that it's been successful and it's really helped a lot of individuals move forward in their homelessness path to housing. Really, I mean, I don't have a solid answer on that, but I mean, obviously we are always advocating for it to be permanent. And as so far, the City of London has been really great to work with on confirming that each year.
Councillor Grantham?
Yeah, thank you, Warden and CEO, referencing your comment that we have had conversations. I too am supportive of this, primarily because I've seen an increased awareness, and there probably always was in place, awareness of the file. But I will say, since Joe's become more actively engaged in it yourself, I'm comfortable that those conversations are happening with the city. So I'm supportive of the direction.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just to jump on that one thing, we do have the City of London coming at a future meeting as a housing services provider. We wanted to lay the land for a really hospitable environment when they came to visit with us this time and just close the loop on a few of these things. So we anticipate them here on a couple items, both pertaining to housing and the updated homelessness prevention plan as well.
Any further questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, then we have a recommendation up on the screen. Moved by Councillor Mayhew, seconded by Councillor Robb. All in favor? And that's carried. Next on our agenda is the Housing Accelerator Fund 2 update, and I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to Abby Heidel-Jacobs, our senior planner for policy and special projects.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Through you to members of council. So this report provides an update on the county's coordinated implementation of the Housing Accelerator Fund Intake 2. And it highlights how the county supported local municipalities in preparing applications, with 4 local municipalities actually receiving half-2 funding. The report really outlines the county's coordinated implementation approach that was taken, which includes shared data, joint technical studies, and consultant procurement for zoning and housing CIP incentive programs. So this was intended to reduce duplication, maximize resources, and ensure consistent evidence-based housing policy and regulation that are still tailored to local circumstances. This work also created a wealth of resources for the municipalities who did not receive half funding, but may be looking to enhance or improve housing outcomes locally in their municipalities. So I just want to take this time to thank the local planning, building, and economic development staff for their hard work and partnership on some of the initiative implementation. And I also wanted to take this time to thank the county planners who have also been key in the initiative implementation as well. It's kind of an all hands on deck process, lots of good discussion between local staff and county planners. And it was pretty fun as well. So just wanted to thank them for their time. So that's it from me, and I am happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Any questions for Abby? Okay, seeing none then, do we have a motion up on the screen, a recommendation for a motion that the Housing Accelerator Fund 2 report be received for information? Moved by Councillor McMillan, seconded by Councillor Grantham. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, it looks like Abby, you're up for the next report as well, the Build Ready Housing Design Program, and I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Madam Warden, through you to members of council. So this report introduces a proposed Build Ready Housing Design Program that would support the development of additional residential units across the county. The report really touches on the housing affordability challenges in the county that are based on the Attainable Housing Review, as well as the Housing Needs Assessment. This includes the increasing housing costs associated with construction, as well as a shortage of smaller rental units. The report also explains how pre-reviewed designs and build-ready housing designs can help reduce design costs, streamline approvals, and encourage development of ARUs in the county, which could support a number of positive things, including aging in place opportunities for families, as well as the ability for farmers to create additional housing options on farm parcels. So finally, this report touches on potential funding through North Middlesex's half funding, given that they far exceeded their half unit requirements last year. So they were invited to apply for additional funding. So we applied for this initiative. And it also touches on a county coordinated approach that would include shared procurement in collaboration with all local municipal building departments to develop a standardized catalog of pre-reviewed ARU designs that municipalities could make available to residents and builders. So county staff have already met with the 3 chief building officials in the county to ensure alignment and support for the initiative, as this would be a joint exercise with a lot of their involvement. And I do want to thank them for their involvement and their partnership on this. Arnie Marsman from Middlesex Center is here today on behalf of the CAO or CBO's group in the event that council has any specific questions that would best be answered from a building perspective. So thank you. And there are 3 motions before you today for this report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Abby. Any questions? Councillor Smyberg?
Thank you. I think it's just a comment. I did see on, I think it was CTV, Saugeen Shores was promoting this project, and I'm quite delighted to see it appear here at Middlesex County, and happy to see that you've engaged with the CBOs within the county. I honestly think that this is an exciting project, and I'm looking forward to this because I think if we can save people some time, money, and effort, you know, with their construction or with their building plans, then I think that's a small part that we can play in that. Thank you.
I agree. Any other comments? Councillor Rob?
Thank you, through the Warden to Abby. When you're putting this together, I know there's a couple of, I've looked at a couple of others who've done this, looked at that. Are we setting our own standards there? It's going to be our plan. Just using that kind of as a guideline.
Yeah, thank you for the question through the warden. So that is the intent here. And we also envision this to have a public consultation component where we would kind of release potential designs out for consultation and allow members of the public to kind of have a say. And really the intent there is to kind of have some resident buy-in for the program and hopefully garner some more community support for these dwelling types across the county.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I do like this approach.
Yes, and congratulations, North Middlesex, for knocking it out of the park number wise. I mean, you met your 3-year commitment in a year, so congratulations on that. Any further comments or questions? Okay, seeing none then, you've got the recommendation up on the screen. There's 3 parts to it. I have a mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Robb, seconded by Councillor Smyberg. Any further discussion? Seeing none then, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Next up is item 10C11, the award for tender for the hot mix asphalt. And I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to our engineering supervisor, Brian Hilliger, and Josh White from procurement as backup, I guess. Or I'm not sure who's taking the lead. Brian, go ahead.
Thank you, Warren, through you to council. This year in our hot mix tender, we had 4 bidders. Brandco again was the low bid by quite a bit, actually. They've worked with us 2 years in the past, and so far we've had nothing but great experiences with them. This was quite a bit under our estimated amount, but we do take into account that there will be an increase during the summer when the AC prices jump up, but we're still under what we estimated, which is good news right now. If anybody has any questions.
Any questions? I just have a comment. Is it fair to assume that we came in lower because we were early out of the gate, because the budget was done earlier? I think we can maybe say yes to that, but I'm not coaching you. What's your response?
Absolutely.
That's the right answer. We're going to keep moving in that direction. Okay, if there's no further questions or comments, we have a recommendation up on the screen. And could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Grantham, seconded by Councillor Mayhew. All in favor? And that's carried. And I think, Brian, you're up for the next one as well, the award of tender for the curb gutter outlets and sidewalks. So I'll turn this portion back over to you.
Yes, for the tender for the curb and gutter concrete curb and gutter, we had 15 bidders this year. The low bidder was Chad Hartman Construction with $155,065. We have not worked with Chad Hartman in the past, but they have worked a lot with surrounding municipalities, which we've received basically glowing reviews from them as well. So with that, it basically also came in right on tender amount. So we recommend that basically this goes approved. Any questions?
Any questions for Ryan? Councillor Smyber.
Thank you. Should have asked this with the other one too. When we see that the cost has come in under budget, is there an opportunity for us to do more work, maybe perhaps in terms of more sidewalk or more asphalting the roads?
Through the warden to the council, I'll just jump in on this one. We're always open to negotiate with contractors for, additional work at the quoted unit prices. The challenge, especially for the first report around asphalt, again, is some uncertainty about where oil prices are going to be 6 weeks from now when we start paving. So we don't typically lump in a new capital program or project. But it's certainly something where we've been able to levy those unit prices for additional work if something pops up during the year. If we find some curb repair that needs to be completed, for example, for this contract, or some guide rail that needs additional installation, some damage during the summer due to a collision, we certainly negotiate with our contracts to do that. We haven't worked with this Chad Hartman contractor, but we hopefully, and we've heard great things, we'll see the same type of cooperation with Middlesex County and our local municipalities.
Thank you, Chris. Lots of variables go into all of these things, I'm sure. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation up on the screen. Moved by Councillor DeVee, seconded by Councillor Grantham. All in favor? and that's carried. And Ryan, it looks like you're on the hook for the next one too, the cold asphalt recycling, so I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Warden, through you to council. We had three bidders on this tender. Low bid again was Levis Contracting at $1,888,541. Levis has worked with us for basically the last 10 years as our cold recycling contractor. We did come a little bit over budget on this one, but with the savings in the asphalt, there shouldn't be much change to this one because the asphalt's the one that fluctuates, so it's not too much of a concern. I did have one question about how much road we are actually doing with this tender, and it'll be about 13.3 kilometers of road that'll be recycled, and that is the full width with the cycling lanes as well.
Thank you for clarifying. Any questions for Ryan on this one? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation up on the screen. Moved by Councillor Robb, seconded by Councillor McGuire. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Ryan. But you're not done yet. Next one up is the installation of steel beam guide rail. And that's item 10.C.14. That's your report as well.
Thank you, Warden, through you to council. We had three bidders on this one, Royal Fence being the lowest at $549,935. We've worked with Royal Fence almost exclusively in this area. It's hard for other contractors to get out here. They've always done very good work. It came basically right on in tender. This is a little more guide rail than we typically do, but we knew it was going to be a heavy year this year, and everything came within budget for us. If anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Ryan on this one? Councillor Smiber.
Sorry, just for clarification, this is for replacement of existing guardrails that have been
Yes.
damaged through accidents?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
damaged or just over time have become lower with the road too low, so they're quality spec.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Ryan on this report? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation up on the screen. Moved by Councillor Mayhew, seconded by Councillor Smiber. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, next up on our agenda is the correspondence and information items. Is there anything from 10D1 to 10D11 that anybody wants pulled out of this report for discussion? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that items 10D1 to 10D11 be received for information. Moved by Councillor McGuire, seconded by Councillor Grantham. All in favor? And that's carried. We will now rise from the committee of the whole at 2:13 p.m. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Smibert, seconded by Councillor McGuire. All in favor? And that's carried. We don't have anything for closed session today that I'm aware of. No. Okay. All right. Last up on the screen, or not, we have a recommendation that the bylaws be given first and second reading. And that's for bylaw 7395, and that bylaw 7396 be given a third and final reading. Moved by Councillor McMillan, seconded by Councillor Smibert. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and then this, so the second motion, the bylaws be given third and final. Mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor DeVito, seconded by Councillor Burkhart Jessen. All in favor? And that's carried. I'll get on to this eventually. All right, the next meetings are March 24th, 2026, Tuesday, April the 14th, and Tuesday, April the 28th. And I think there's a Good Road Conference the end of the month, and we still have another meeting this month. So Okay, if there's no other business, could I have a motion to adjourn at 2:14 PM? Moved by Counselor McMillan, seconded by Counselor Brennan. All in favor? And that's carried.